here who's with us and who will be watching this in the future. Oh, I hear an echo. Oh my goodness.
I think
One.
on your end, the mic, it seems like it fades away at some point and then it kind of comes back.
Okay. How's that? Is that better?
Perfect. Now it's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. I think I know what the problem is. I'll get back to the intro in a quick second here, but I noticed when I was streaming with Soulflare represent when I would switch between Chrome browser and Edge, that it would completely mess with my connection. I don't know. I think it was a bandwidth issue. I'm not exactly sure. I thought I did all the things I needed to solve that, but I'm guessing it's still an issue here. But regardless, we'll
Yeah.
figure that out. Not necessary to talk about on our stream here today. Let's get back to it. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. My name is Trav. We have got Quantic together. We are Ship Guild, and we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today here. So before we dive into the topic, Quantic, how was your week, my friend?
So it was quite nice. This week I've been working on this precisely on this topic, right? We're gonna talk about what the hell is a cloud agent, and what's the difference with a local agent, and how you can make them work. And it's been one of the most challenging things that I've done with AI. So, the good news is that if you're watching this right now, you're gonna learn some lessons that it took me quite some time. So we're
Mm.
here to serve you.
And that's a big deal too, because man, Quantic, of all the people who are out here, you know your stuff. You work in developers relations. You know how to code authentically besides having to use AI for it. So your insight into agents and AI and all of this stuff definitely is at a whole other level. And if you had to learn these lessons the hard way, 99.9% of the rest of us it will be even harder. So very excited for me personally to learn from your lessons here. And then for you guys, I think this is going to be one worth diving into today here. Um, yeah, no, for myself, it's been a really fun week. Lots of developments. I actually tried my hand at cinematic AI video or AI videos this week, kind of a longer clip. I think I made about a 30 to 40-second clip here using AI, specifically Grok, actually. Grok just unleashed their Grok, what is it? Imagine 2.0 and it's actually really good. It's really I'm very, very impressed by it. You can actually extend your scenes. The quality is probably at least as good as Sea Dance 2.0, and, it's been a lot of fun. And I'll actually maybe I'll show the video that I made later on in the stream here because it's a lot of fun here. But regardless, we're gonna be talking AI today, but before we do, Shipguild has a recent update here. Do you wanna let our
Yes.
audience know what happened there?
Yes. So listen, as I have shared before many times, we have an AI agent running semi-autonomously. That means he's doing research, he's building things for us, for our community. And sometimes there are decisions, loops to increase the exposure of our community, of our token, whatever. Um, and I am the one that has to approve it, right? So it took me a while to approve it, and I was the bottleneck, but we finally got to the point in which we did our first airdrop distribution, fully made, of course, by our AI agent called Bosun. And do you mind, Trav, if we pull out perhaps the chart or the app? Perhaps I should
100.
do that, or do you want to do it?
Oh, go for it. Why don't you do it?
Okay, so should I go? Let me just share my screen here for 1 second.
Sounds good,
Oh,
right? And while you're doing that, maybe I'll just mention here, some of the utilities. So we've introduced our token earlier this year. It's about February this year, and, it's been one of the best decisions that we've ever made, I would say. So the reason behind it is we've built this app, the Ship Guild, which is all about giving back to our community. And in order to access all the rewards, you need to hold just one ship token. And yeah, one of the rewards that we were talking about are these airdrops of more ship
yeah.
tokens here. So yeah, back at you.
Yeah, no, I hope that we are live on Pump, by the way. Are we there as well?
We are, yes.
Amazing. Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, the app. The app, like I mentioned, is being built autonomously by one of our AI agents called Bosun that is here to kind of lead this entire experiment, really. Um, and one of the interesting things that it did this week, Trav, was to actually split things into what is going to be our sort of core loop to bring more value to our community, and then the financial crypto aspect of all of it. So if you look now at the shipgal.com, which is our official web app, or at least landing page now, it is explaining all the things that we have been providing for the people that are part of this community, right? So as the description here says, ShipGal gives creators, founders, and operators a practical place to use AI agent, crypto rails, media, and community to turn small teams into leverage machines. That's the entire goal, right? Um, and now it decided that we can split kind of the value that we're giving here in terms of how we want to operate this community and the financial aspect. So the financial aspect, Trav, which is what you were sharing before, is everything related to our token that actually now it looks like very nice, right? So you can scout a token, you can view your portfolio, you can verify your membership. This is the thing that you were talking about, Trav, which is like if you just have one ship, you will be able to unlock exclusive resources that we are developing each week, right? Um, and if you do the math here, is extremely cheap, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything really. Um, and the thing that you mentioned is probably related to the rewards section. So if you go here to
Yes.
guild and you go here to rewards, what you will see here is that you can spin the wheel of fortune and have an anchor point sort of gamified experience. Basically, this is just like for people that are new to the ecosystem to just come here, interact with the site, get some points, and then keep exploring. Right? This is a hook that the AI agent created, such that we get people to actually get curious about it, and it's proving to be right because now we have people on social media that are kind of farming these points as expected, right? And
Yeah.
this week, what we did was to ask our agent to distribute certain amount of SHIB tokens. I think it was like 10 million, which is roughly like 300 bucks. Not that much, but also not small, right?
Yeah.
Between the people that have been participating, and it has been increasing consistently. And of course, there's people that are coming here like almost each day, and they hold the bag and they spin the wheel, and then they will get rewards. Like it's very basic stuff. And I think the idea is that as the project makes progress, or as our community kind of gets used to it and understand how to use the app and how to
Mhm.
engage with the different sections, there will be more airdrops, and there will be more gamified systems that will be created by our agent Bosom. So if you're watching this right now and you're interested on all this stuff and really into getting your hands dirty with AI agents, we are probably one of the main places on the internet where you can do that and having some benefits from all the crypto related stuff, which has now been, uh, has been changed to this domain here, terminal.theshipgal.com, right? So just to clarify this point, we now have like two different domains. One is like the traditional app, the shipgal.com, in which we are focusing all our efforts into kind of the landing page for the AI agent resources and the community and the idea behind the project. And then
Mhm.
the financial or crypto aspect of it, which is this terminal.theshipgal.com, in which you can go and farm and you can explore different capabilities. Of course, you can check out the docs. You can check out how to scout for tokens and make sure you do not get rocked. You
Mhm.
can trade. You have a portfolio tracker as well. And you have a section that is called Ship IQ, in which if you're new to crypto, you can learn the basics. and you get some points as well for completing this. What are your thoughts on all of this, Trav?
I think it's all so cool. I mean, what's interesting is we've kind of come full circle because when we started as Web3 Matters years ago, one of the things that we spoke about a lot on our spaces before live streams was even around was how to be a better trader, you know, trading safely and all of that. And now we have this whole terminal section of our app that just helps people become better traders, safe traders, informs them of like I really appreciate that security part of the test where it like helps people understand, how to be safe, as safe as possible in this space and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm my mind is really appreciating that component, and then also the fact that this is all done autonomously by an AI agent with you as kind of like the gatekeeper of decisions being made. I think that's so cool. I think that's amazing. Like, just goes to show how powerful AI is and what a wild time it is to be alive here. And again, like makes me want to learn even more and share everything that we learn with our community.
Exactly. Now we have like the only thing that has changed for us, Trav, which is kind of crazy, is the fact that now we have a sort of more structured path to package the
Yes.
value that we have been creating for years. And thanks
Years.
to AI and crypto, we have like max leverage in terms of distribution, in terms of
Yeah.
build things that we wouldn't be able to build if we had an AI, and now have a token that help us provide clear incentives for anyone who wants to join.
Very much so, very much so, and it's nice to have that because it's definitely more motivating for us. It helps us measure progress. It helps us keep in contact with our community and reward our community. Just all of these things. It's like this beautiful fit. It's wicked. It's nice and centralized, and it's a great addition to have in our funnel as well, which is a whole other
Exactly.
topic of conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So why don't we perhaps move forward and discuss? I think you mentioned some interesting news from Anthropic this week, so we can
Yes.
kind of set the stage for the topic, the main topic of today's live stream.
Yeah, and I think it's good to start off with this topic as well because of course we're talking about, are have we been using AI the wrong way this entire time and talking about cloud AI systems like Anthropic, like ChatGPT and OpenAI and all of that versus actually running a local agent on your computer for free for unlimited use. Like what are the pros and cons? Like how do we navigate this? And one interesting factor is that yesterday I noticed that Anthropic was actually trending on X. So I thought I would do some research and see what was going on. And it turns out it wasn't that bullish. And it actually really fed into a lot of the conversations that we were having during our last stream, where we were both feeling quite let down with AI and all of that here. So yeah, it's basically this this one post really summed it up well, talking about how Anthropic is basically going downhill. Um, this one here, Fable and Opus 5 have some noticeable lapses,
Mm,
especially considering the expectations around the flagship models. Pricing keeps becoming a bigger issue, while Anthropic remains cautious about open source, open weight models as competitors keep pushing them forward. And then they compared this to OpenAI. So Chat or GPT 5.6 has been pushing harder on coding, agents, and general capability, while OpenAI keeps expanding the ecosystem around its models. Meanwhile, Anthropic seems increasingly focused on protecting the Claude moat. So it's almost like they're like Apple used to be. They just want to keep their users in their products and not
right.
have any compatibility with anything else, which I am definitely not a fan of. Whereas ChatGPT is integrating it with the overall AI and Web 2 and
Right.
Web3 atmosphere, right? So it's a strange trajectory. This is, I think, sums it up great here. So it's higher prices, closed models, skepticism towards open weights, questionable flagship launches, and now did you see this? They have
Yes.
invisible watermarks on outputs, and then I
Yes.
don't
There is
understand.
a repo that you can use to combat that back. To be
That's
honest.
amazing. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I thought this was really interesting, and I think the most important takeaway from this is that I wasn't surprised by it. I mean, it's sad to say because I was such a fan of Claude and Anthropic for so long, that it validates how much I was let down by them over the last couple of weeks, and it's explains it as well. So what are your thoughts on this?
So I think one needs to be careful with how you're going to think about this properly. Why?
Mhm,
Because I can certainly see the case for all of those claims, right? And it does seem that of all these frontier AI labs, it seems that Anthropic is going into this sort of weird direction, more close, more like Apple in
mhm,
the early days. And it doesn't take that much to understand the incentives, right? Like these are networks. I think we should put more emphasis into this, meaning these are platforms that want to attract as many users as possible, as fast as possible. And then once we're all there, hook up forever, they want to turn off the switch to start charging more and
mhm.
to get us in a position in which it's very hard for us to switch or to go away, right? That's the
Definitely.
entire way of operating of all of them because the incentives are built that way. And from the outside, from many of these points, it does seems like Anthropic is kind of leaning hard into this direction. Um,
Definitely.
few things that I would say is that they are kind of the people that take into consideration all of these regulations more seriously, all the AI safety more seriously. And that also means that in some points, they might have to make decisions that look bad, really bad for the optics, right? For the public audience on X, that we all want freedom and we want cheap models
Mhm,
and unregulated, probably, right? No censorship. We want it all, right? That's our incentive. Uh, it is not the way it works for them, right? So,
mhm,
I would say always be careful, always think twice. What I do think is that Cloud Code, it is one of the best AIs available to write code still, and it is very comfortable to use, and that the design skill that they have is probably one of the killer things that they have.
mhm,
So I wouldn't suggest people, like, I'm here to just provide my input, right, and my
mhm,
perspective. You take your own decision, of course, but I wouldn't suggest people to let this sort of conflict and public discourse and ideology battle that there is to take them from what they can do best with certain specific models, right?
mhm.
Like, bottom line, I want to get the most out of AI. And sometimes I am going to be okay with their policies. Sometimes I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to be okay with what they are deciding. But bottom line, I'm always going to try and be practical on what's best for me.
Mhm. No, that makes a ton of sense. And I feel like we've had similar conversations about crypto and Web3 as well. You always have to do what's right for you ahead of everyone else when making financial decisions, while making decisions about using AI, different AI models. Like that really makes a lot of sense here. And then to your point about how these are businesses and they have to make decisions based on revenue and things like that. Another post on this thread that or not this specific thread, but another post on the research I was doing that jumped out at me was this one here. So Anthropic's valuation was almost a trillion. Walmart's valuation was also almost a trillion. Anthropic's revenue is almost only 50 billion, whereas Walmart's revenue was 681 billion. So,
Right.
in terms of valuation versus how much they're actually making, yes, it's still an absolutely insane amount of money, but seeing the comparison of valuation versus revenue, like that's gonna sway some investors and some users as well, for sure.
I mean, then you have to ask yourself, then why, if those numbers are, you know, portraying the full picture, then why are investors pouring such large amounts of money into this? It's because their projection probably look bigger than what Walmart's revenue it is today.
That makes
And
a ton of sense.
you can question that or not. That's a different story. But there is a projection here.
Mhm. Definitely, definitely. Also, last point I'll make on this here is that, apparently the Kalshi traders forecast a 69% that Anthropic announces an IPO before November 1st. Do you think that'll happen?
I think it would make sense. They have incentives to do this IPO as soon as possible before the bubble crashes.
Mm,
There are a lot of people who agree on the fact that there are signs of a bubble. Some say they are not that strong. Some say it's like inevitable, and it's like we are already there. Um, the game between revenue, current revenue, and projections for these large valuations, it is on a very dangerous zone uh, ground. Why? Because you have to think that as of now, they are token sellers, right? That's why
yeah,
we're purchasing tokens. And what we know and everybody's saying is, and demonstrating with the data, is that the cost of intelligence is collapsing, right? Then where are they selling? Like, how are you going to justify billions and billions of revenue from 5 years from now if what the thing that you're selling is just going to become cheaper and kind of
mhm.
less valuable. So this is the thing that you want to keep in mind for the future, and I think is good news for retail, really.
Yeah, no, definitely good news for retail. Yeah, and I'm curious to know as well kind of how they're going to adapt to that. How are they gonna make the revenue? What sort of mechanisms are they gonna put into play here? It's all very interesting, and I'm very curious to see how this all plays out here. But now that we've kind of talked about AI, I'm glad that we talked about this Anthropic saga that's obviously happening as we speak here. The one thing that you mentioned that got me re-fired up into getting back into our own AI usage sort of conversation here was when you were talking about, how you're still so bullish on Anthropic, and I completely agree. I still use Anthropic. That's my main source of AI toolage these days. So let's talk about that. How can we use AI better for our workflow? And let's direct this conversation to the topic, which is local models versus cloud models. So I'll,
Right.
I'll send the mic over to you, my friend.
Yeah, so let me ask you a few questions because I think everyone will understand what this topic is about once they understand where they are, for which I'm going to use you as an example.
Please
Why?
do.
Because you have been someone that started with ChatGPT, then at some point moved to Hermes, and then the entire world kind of changed for you. And now you know that there is a bunch of tools, a bunch of agentic frameworks, a bunch of stuff that goes beyond just one simple LLM, right?
100%.
Um, and now the question is, how do I keep improving? How do I get the most out of it? How do I save money? How do I save time? And let me ask you this. Right now you have Hermes and it is connected with what? Is it like the Codex from OpenAI or is it with Claude? What is
It's
it?
with Claude. Yeah.
It is with
And
Claude. Okay.
actually, I'm, like, right on the cusp of completely switching over to Codex, just because my, Hermes agent keeps on running out of tokens, and I'm having to pay extra for it, and I
Right.
wanna be able to use the API. So I am,
Yeah.
like, right there on wanting to get Codex involved.
Yeah. So my suggestion, and I hope more people listen to this, is to get started with this. Uh, Use Hermes. Of course, this is like the main agentic framework. The thing that it has that is unique is like it has these skills that it creates to improve. So the more you use it, the better it becomes. And I can 100% guarantee that it's a total game changer compared to using just a LLM like the one provided by ChatGPT. Um, and you want to start using that for cheap. That means buy the $20 or $30, I don't know the exact price, subscription from either Codex or Cloud Code. I think for getting started is much better to start with Codex because everyone who is a savvy user of this is reporting to have better results of Hermes with Codex. I'm one of
Okay.
those. I'm one of those guys as well. I have tried,
Okay.
and it's just it just works. I don't know the technical explanation here. It's just a
Yeah.
practical fact.
Okay, I want to clarify something on that though. Are you mostly using it in the context, or do you find this superiority when it comes to actually coding applications, or in terms of like creating content, your writing, kind of having that personality to it?
Right. It is not about the personality. It is about the fact that I want to have one agent that can help me do everything. I want a
Mm,
generalist agent that can spin up other agents for different tasks. And the things that I do the most is related to coding, research, uh, content creation. Is not really content creation, it is more evaluation and the process around ideation and actually more correction and that kind of thing, feedback.
mhm.
And for that, I just want to have one agent that can master the rest and that everything works flawlessly. And for some reason, the thing that seems to works best is Hermes with Codex.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and I don't know the exact reason. I don't have any data to back that up, but it's an
Yep.
interesting topic for discussion in the future.
Very much
But
so.
you can actually do it with Cloud Code as well for $20, and 1 month with that and another month with Codex, and then see it for yourself. That's actually my suggestion.
Yeah, run an experiment. Actually, that could make for some good content too. I did 1 month of her or 1 month of Codex and 1 month of Anthropic,
Yeah,
and made a comparison. And here's how it worked out. So one last question here before we start getting into local models, which is kind of where this conversation is heading here. But I know the one interesting thing. I'll frame it kind of high level first. Is that uh, I want to compare Claude versus Hermes in terms of Claude is getting more and more capable of being an agent as well because it has things like Claude Dispatch, where you can actually control your PC with your phone, which I used while I was actually coding one of my apps while I was out rock climbing on my PC using my cell phone. It was actually really, really cool. They have the browser extension now, so it allows my Claude it allows Claude to actually have a better control of what's going on in my browser. It has Claude Cowork as well, which allows integration of all these other apps. So, I guess what I'm
right.
trying to get at, have you heard that argument anymore? Is is Claude almost getting to the point where you don't even need to integrate it with Hermes, or is Hermes still like quite superior to using just a Claude product?
That's a great question. One of the things that I need to clarify is, first of all, the evolution and distinction between the LLM and an agent, right? So
Hmm.
the LLM is what got famous because of ChatGPT, right?
Right.
Because it's a smart uh, interface for interacting. You write something, and it's very smart, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but then the agents took this to the next level with tools. What are these tools? Being able to browse the web, have memory, all these things, and this is much more powerful because now you have the LLM with the tools and the memory. Now, when you go to ChatGPT, you're actually interacting with that, and in the instances that is the type of interaction, your ChatGPT is actually acting like an agent, right? So a lot of people get confused about this. So that's one thing I want to uh, clarify.
Mhm.
Then your question is, can you repeat the question because I want to make sure I frame it correctly.
Yeah, my question was, with the way that Claude is going,
Oh yeah,
have you heard anything between the performance of Claude as it is now versus
right,
Hermes? Like,
right, okay.
is Hermes still
Yeah, the
very
com- the
superior?
com- the comparison. So
Mhm,
Hermes is really a sort of harness.
mhm,
The thing that makes Hermes unique is these skills that allow you to improve as you use it. And Claude is now operating with a bunch of agents and a bunch of tooling. So you might think, why do I even need to have a Hermes? Um, I would say at some point, all of these things are going to converge into things that look similar and operate similar, although there might be technical difference, like I explained before, but for most
mhm,
users, that's going to be just details. What I can say though is that right now, all the things that you mentioned about Claude and these other toolings, with Hermes, I already have all of this. Some I have had to build it. Others are coming right off the bat, right?
Mhm.
And I think, it is important to note that there are no restrictions anymore. So if Cloud is adding another tool for whatever reason, it is very simple to copy paste or to have it already integrated with Hermes. Um, so I'm not advocating for one or the other one in regards to this,
Mhm.
um, but I do think in the future we will see more of this in terms of like these
Yeah.
frontier AI labs. They not only provide the best model, right, the best LLM, but the best fully agentic experience.
Makes a ton of sense, a ton of sense. So I guess kind of still the question that I'm looking for an answer to is purely kind of when it comes down to performance and specifically like the research side of things. So I've always been extremely impressed with my Hermes agent's ability to just access more information based on just the infrastructure that it's built on. And I'm just kind of curious with the way that Claude is becoming, uh, I'm curious to know what the performance is one versus the other, essentially. That makes sense because I feel like I always have felt that Hermes was able to access more because of what it is, but now I'm not so sure if that's the case.
Yeah, I think it's gonna become increasingly more confusing.
Mhm.
That means that's probably not the best question or approach.
Mm.
What you want really is pay the less, get the most. And what I
Yes.
mean by get the most is like get something simple, powerful, and probably that you can use with your phone, right?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned. I also go to the gym and my agents are coding, and I just send them a voice note on Telegram
Yeah.
and I get everything done. However, though, and this is the key thing for today's topic, when you're running this, your Hermes agent, your cloud instance, and everything, it is on your machine, right? On your
Mhm.
laptop, whatever it is that you have. Meaning, the moment you turn your laptop or your computer off, if you want to do something with your phone, for instance, in principle, most people have no idea how to deal with it and they just don't have access to it. Is that the
Mhm.
case for you?
If I turn my computer off, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have no access.
And that's the core value proposition of today's topic, which is the only way you can turn off your laptop and continue to work from your phone without having to worry about what's going on your laptop is to have your agentic system deployed on the cloud, right?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, that
So
makes sense.
here I want to draw an important distinction, which is we were framing this as local versus cloud, right?
Mhm.
And when people think about local, they are thinking about LLMs that they can run on their machine. We're
Yes.
not talking about local in that sense. We're going to talk about that
Interesting.
later. We're talking
Okay.
about running your agentic stuff on your local machine versus running that thing on the cloud.
Okay. See, I'm glad I'm glad you made that distinction because that's not at all. I was thinking the former of what you just said here, that actually loading up an LLM onto my desktop here. And actually, one thing I do want to make clear is that my big goal right now is to stop getting bullshit answers from my agents and like
Right.
my LLMs. I've been so frustrated by just my like Claude, for example, just so confidently feeding me so blatantly wrong
Yeah.
information. And even whenever am like correcting it over and over again, it
Yeah.
still continues to do it. And I've been getting very frustrated with it because every single time, especially when I'm using it through Hermes, it just ends up using so much of my tokens, and it's very annoying. But regardless, let's get back into it.
No, I mean, look, I think that's a great point because this is exactly the issue that I encounter. So this is the thing. What I did was, okay, I really need to keep my agentic system working once I turn off my laptop, right?
Yeah,
And for that, the only solution that I found is deploy things on the cloud.
right.
Deploying anything on the cloud for non-technical people is highly non-trivial. Even for technical people, it can be quite a pain in the ass, to be honest. So now we're talking about I have an agentic system. I don't have like one ChatGPT subscription and Hermes, and that's it. I have a system with multiple agents, multiple subscription. Each one has their own constraints. Each one has their own area of focus, and I want one thing that works for everything, right? So it is a constrained problem, highly non-trivial to solve. However, this week, or the past 2 to 3 weeks, actually, I've been struggling to do this, and I finally managed to do it. But when I did, everything was broken with Hermes, and I got exactly the same problem with you. And I was asking myself, what is happening here? Is this a thing at the LLM level, meaning
Mhm.
Anthropic is giving me bullshit with Claude?
Yeah.
Is this a thing of Codex? Because I also have Codex. That's my main thing. What is really happening? Is this an Hermes thing? Is it getting worse? Hermes as a harness itself? Um, and the answer that I found is that I still don't know,
Mhm.
while I do know a few things. Number one, in general, uh, there seems to be a tendency to increase the token consumption in general.
Oh, so
And
there's
if you
a
look at
tendency to
things,
increase the token consumption. Okay.
yeah, meaning if the task was perform A, right? In the past, that took 100 tokens. Now it's taking more than 100 tokens,
Mhm.
regardless of the model. And we need to look at the deeper data behind this. I think for Anthropic specifically, it has been demonstrated that each time they get a better model out, the token consumption seems to increase.
Mhm.
Um, don't quote me on that. We need the hard data, but this is something that I have experienced as well, right?
Likewise.
Uh, and this is, of course, concerning because it means that they give us better model, and it supposedly the cost of intelligence is dropping, but it's actually not the case because it's burning more tokens, right? So
Mhm.
what's really going on? So that's one thing. That's a fact that you need to double check and explore on your own system. You can just prompt your agent to keep track of things and to report to you each day or each week, whatever you want, about the situation and keep an eye on it. So
Can
that's
I
one
pause that
thing.
for a second? That's
Yeah,
really helpful. Like that's something that it just kind of my takeaway from what you just said, which I wanna emphasize it is because it's a huge issue that I've been personally experiencing is that things are seeming to take more and more tokens the longer I'm using models, the more different up to date models come out, the more changes are made. And the best like a really helpful way to start managing that is to tell your agent, monitor how much I'm using, give me a report back every week and like let's try and optimize this. So like that let's
yes.
definitely put a pin on that. That's a really important piece of advice here
And
for
let
our
me go
audience.
further on this.
Yeah,
Love that you touch upon this, Trav, because let me go further on this.
please.
I'm talking here about the first principles and the incentives.
Mhm.
So who is in charge of your agent? Is it you really, or is it the guys that are creating this stuff?
I would say absolutely it's the guys who are creating this stuff. I feel I have very little control over my
Right?
agents at any time.
It's it's crazy. We
Yeah.
are paying for the stuff. We are not that much in control because we
No.
give instructions and sometimes they don't follow it, and that happens quite often. And it doesn't seem to change regardless of the model. So that's one thing. Second thing, the incentives are such that the model providers, have some sort of more control over it. However, I
Mhm.
would still argue that not even them have that much of control. So, this is another
Which
discussion
is
around
also
security.
terrifying.
It is a
Yeah.
terrifying thing. Nobody's in
Yeah.
control of this
No
stuff,
one's in
right?
control except for AI itself.
Right. But the point is about the incentives. You are incentivized to take as much control, and put as many guardrails as possible over your model so that it stays aligned to you
Mhm.
rather than the model provider, right? I'm paying
100%.
for this agent. I want this agent to be aligned with whatever I want, not with what Anthropic wants, right? But Anthropic is the owner and they are the service provider and they are
Mhm.
aligning that to whatever their interest is. So there is a natural conflict of interest. How do you deal with that? You have to create persistent systems that forces your agent to stay aligned as much as possible with you.
Okay, that's brilliant. And what's also interesting is I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a second here. Is we've already established that a majority of the people who are actually creating and growing OpenAI, or sorry, not OpenAI, Anthropic and Claude and all of this are doing it through vibe coding. We already
Right.
know that their incentive is monetary. What's to keep them from vibe coding, like adding prompts of like, you know, your goal is to make as much money from tokens as possible. So
Right.
at any opportunity, try to make tasks as complicated as you can, try to make them your outputs as long as possible, blah, 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 blah. Like it would be very easy for them to do that. I don't know if
It,
it
it
would,
yeah.
but anyways, that's my tinfoil hat. I'll remove that now and let's carry on with this conversation. To get back to what you said, yes, 100%. We need to put as many safeguards in play as possible to keep that control um in our end of the court, essentially. So
Exactly.
that's huge.
So what I would do, what I would suggest is to have an honest conversation with your agent and try to get to a situation in which you have both agreed to have a permanent system in the memory of the agent, whatever that is, such that it actually follows through your mandate and sort of
Mm,
your principles. Meaning, I don't know, sometimes I just hate it that it doesn't complete the tasks, right? Or
mm,
it completes the task, but then I have to review it. And I'm like, there, the AI could do the review by itself. Why I have to stay in the loop, right? And so you
mm,
have to sort of prompt and configure your agent in a way that it follows what you're saying, right? Not just by the
100%.
prompt itself, right? In the prompt you can put, okay, make sure you don't ask me any more questions and follow the task until the end, right? That's something that
Mhm.
I usually put. But you can do something smarter, which is try and figure it out with the help of your agent what is going on once you send the prompt and how you can have certain rules that are always followed, right, by the agent,
Yeah.
and it's permanently embedded into the system, into the memory, into everything you do.
I love that. I love that. And I learned that lesson the hard way whenever I tried to do one of those loops and had my agent, complete the task until it was finished, and to double check its work and all of this stuff. And it went on an infinite loop that just
Yes,
consumed so many tokens. So
so many
these
tokens.
principles are very, very important to prevent that
Right.
from happening as well. You have to go from
Yep.
both ends. So
Yeah, you have to get it. Look, this is the thing. You have to get the principles right, right?
mhm.
Know the incentives first. This AI, no one is really in control, but if anything, the labs are more in control than you, even though you're paying
Yes.
for it, right? That's one thing. Fact number one. Fact number two, it is incentivized to make you spend money. Otherwise, the business
Mhm.
doesn't work, right? So you have to put
Yes.
a guardrail on that, right? And third, you have to do something at a system level such that it's permanent. Otherwise, it's just going to work for one session and then you start again and it's all over, and it's quite annoying.
Brilliant, brilliant. I wonder, could we share this, like, kind of these basic principles with our community? Like, would it be worth making a document on this and putting it in the rewards section of
Ye-
Shipguild?
I think we could do that. I have to figure it out. What it's because in my case, I've spent hundreds of hours already working on this stuff, so I don't even know what's in there really in
Yeah,
detail. I just know that now it kind of works, and the thing is that each principle is going to be kind of different for each one of our communities. So it would have to be like the personal stuff and something general,
yeah,
uh, such that people have a template that they can work from, and then add their personal limitations, constraints, personality traits, whatever they
yeah,
want.
100%. No, I think that would be super helpful. And actually, what's interesting is just kind of back out here to touch on our last week's space. I've been working on a prompt. I've been working on a whole system rather to help organically grow my X account, with all these different strategies here. And I'm still working on it and I'm still testing it, but this is also something that I'll be sharing on our Ship Guild website. And the one thing that I'm really trying to be aware of and careful of is making I have the prompts that I use myself that I know work for me, but I want to share those with our audience. But in order for it to work for them, I can't just hand them my prompt. It has to be
Right.
custom to them. So how do you make a prompt kind of general, but able to become specific for each individual person who uses it? Because this is not like a sweeping declaration, one size fits all. The magic of it is it has to be very, very specific to the person running the agent.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's like generic is it's not going to work here.
And
So,
here comes the point of using Hermes again. The most personalized thing that improves on its own that I have found so far is Hermes.
okay, that's huge. That's a huge point. I'm going to mark that and clip that because that's a very awesome point to share with our audience here.
Right. Now, let's go into this diagram before we wrap it up today, Trav. It was a
Perfect.
complicated topic, so I'm glad that we clarified so many previous steps.
Mhm.
By the way, if you're watching this, you make sure to reshare this and actually look at this live stream again because it has many interesting components that are gonna save you a ton of time as you continue to make progress with your agentic tools. So,
And
bottom
or
line,
subscribe to our newsletter, and we will absolutely give you guys all of the rundown in plain English on what you can
yeah.
take away from this. Sorry, carry
Yeah,
on.
no, you have to. You have to subscribe to our newsletter. Come on, be nice with us. We're being nice with you.
Exactly.
Okay, Trav, here's the thing. You
Yes.
turn off your laptop and you're out of your current agentic systems because it's mostly local. So my
Mhm.
solution, go to the cloud. Highly non-trivial. How to do it? You first thing you have to do is figure out what your current AI system looks like and what your agentic system actually suggests on how to move this to the cloud and if you actually have to do it or not.
Mhm.
Maybe it's going to bring more complications that benefits and so you have to think this part before doing anything. Now, when
Yes.
it comes to the cloud, I'm using something called Hetzner, uh, and I'm not going to provide like any advice on what cloud service to use. I'm just going to say that this is quite a standard. It is non-trivial. All this cloud stuff is non-trivial, but with the
And
help of
by
agents,
non-trivial, it's difficult. I just want to make that very clear. It
uh,
is not easy.
it is also not that complicated. Come on. But
Okay,
the thing is
perfect.
that these guys are affordable. Like you can
Mm,
you can run all your systems with a lot of memory, a lot of space, whatever, for like $10. So you
okay.
add 10 more bucks to your stack and you can be on the cloud 24/7.
Wow. Okay. I have a very basic question to ask you.
Yeah.
What's is there a downside to just not turning my computer off?
Oh yeah, I mean, your machine, the hardware of your machine, it is not a good thing to have it all the time up
Mm,
because of the heat. If if you don't care about your hardware and you just want to have it 24/7 plugged in and it works that way for you and it's all good, then yeah, don't worry about it. I have a
well,
laptop that is not like super expensive, but also not super good.
mm,
And I travel and I travel with my laptop. So it is not the best thing for me long term to have all of my systems running locally. And then when I'm out, I just have no access to my agent, right?
that makes sense. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad I clarified that because I need to take better care of my system here because I have paid a lot for my computer and my GPU for video editing, and I don't want to mess that
Yeah,
up.
probably, but there are
Yeah.
cons, which is the complexity around it. Now, what I want to go back is this diagram that I have on the screen, which
Mhm,
is essentially all the complicated stuff summarized on one simple system, right? Which is
mhm.
on one side, you have myself trying to complete tasks through Telegram. Why? Because I have all my agents configured via that gateway, right? I ask something, it goes through this gateway, owns the loop and the history. So this is the thing that is going to help me coordinate everything that happens on the back end, which again is complicated, but bottom line, it is reduced to have, one model. It can be the cloud code thing or the codecs or whatever Chinese thing you have,
Mhm.
it of course will probably call a sort of tool or set of tools, including terminals, browse the web, and whatever. And then what it's going to do is then come back with a result and then sort of go through this process of verifying
Mhm.
regarding to what I ask, is everything in check, right? And then when it's done, I will get the final answer once there is no more tool needed, or the task has been completed with the standards that I set, right?
Okay.
This translates into something that you just talk with your Telegram agent, uh, and you get things done, including full production of code deployed, full research, full content creation, whatever you want, 24/7, right? That's
That's
the
really cool.
thing.
Got you. Got you. Okay, sorry. One thing I'd like to clarify. So first of all, thank you very much for sharing that. That makes a ton of sense. It's clear, kind of what like how it works, and what the benefit of doing something like this is, like to actually get 24/7 usage out of your AI remotely. This is clearly the way to go here. And that's important because you really should turn your computer off for a good chunks of the day to keep it running smoothly here and to save money that way. So my question, just to double check here, is is Hermes, or never mind. You know what? I already answered it. Hermes is involved in this still because you're chatting with your Telegram bot to
Right.
the cloud essentially. Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So what's happening behind the scenes in my particular case, and this is different for each one of us, is I have like just three main agents, right? Then
Mhm.
they can spur sub agents or whatever if they need, they have permission for that. But it's like three main guys that they have to report to me. And
Mhm.
with one main agent that is in charge. So what happens here is we have actually three separate tokens. So you know we have one that is awake 24/7, which is my main agent. That if there is something that goes specifically to the other agents, those agents need to work locally. Why? Because there are certain files or certain things I don't want to put on the cloud, right?
Mm.
There are
Okay.
sensitive data or very specific things around my system that I just want to keep local, and I just want to
Mhm.
have one focused, localized agent completing things on that environment. And
Understood.
this is why it gets so complex, because I have one agent that is awake 24/7 and is deployed on the cloud, but that agent manages agent and tasks that can run on the cloud or that can run locally on my laptop, and they can queue and set up certain jobs, cron jobs, whatever
Mhm.
tasks are needed to be completed by these other agents that are awake during certain times of the day when my laptop is working and it's connected, right? And for certain specific environments.
Understood. Okay. No, I'm glad you brought that up. That because that security is something that's paramount to this. Is correct me if I'm wrong with this assumption, but the cloud, doing things through the cloud inherently puts it at higher risk. Is that accurate?
I mean, you introduce a new vector of security when you put anything on the cloud, right? Like
Hmm.
before, I had everything that can be attacked on my machine. Now I have everything that can be attacked on my machine, plus whatever can happen on the cloud and the cloud provider.
Understood. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense then why you would want to keep specific files and specific access local on your computer here.
Yes. And then it gets very complicated, because if you want some stuff local, very constrained, and then some stuff working 24/7, you need to define certain access, certain system for security, certain system for synchronization and communication between these two
Mm.
pieces, right? And this is
So I'm
why this took me quite a lot of time.
And if it's like that too, then you technically wouldn't have access 24/7 to specific tasks because
Cor-
part of the information is still local. So that's interesting. And so there would still be benefit though to doing that to
I I mean,
so
this main agent that I have on the cloud, it is
mhm,
configured such that it knows and it can access. I probably shouldn't say this on a live stream. It knows and can access almost everything, everywhere, like
Wow.
on the cloud systems that I have and on the local systems that I have, right? So I need a guy that has the broader context, even more than I
Mm,
do, because it is smarter, faster, and it needs to take decisions. It is constrained by me to take certain actions only when I allow it. That's the thing that I
okay.
do.
Understood. Okay. This is all coming together now. So, especially if you're the type of person who likes to run jobs 24/7, that you're creating content and you're having your agent do research throughout the night so that when you wake up in the morning, you have your daily posts all set, you have a brief for everything that's been trending and all of that. Something like this would be very helpful for you because it ticks all the boxes. It can still work. You're still protecting your hardware and yeah, everything is still in place here. So definitely understanding the complexity of this, but also definitely understanding the value in this as well.
Yeah, and let's just finish with this diagram here, which is like how the cloud side is working alongside the laptop side, right?
Okay.
So on the cloud side, I have my main agent that decides, or you ask it to do something, right? And then it goes and checks the system, what things are running, whatever, and then it pulls whatever is happening on my laptop side, in which I have these dedicated workers, right? And I
Mhm.
have like every 5 minutes, it is pinging these agents. Hey, how are things doing? How are things are progressing? Whatever. And this runs inside like a real project directory, meaning it runs inside things that I'm actively working at a local level, not at a cloud level, right? And then it
Okay.
communicates and writes results to the cloud. And then I can read or ask my agent to read those results.
Fascinating. I like that check-in, the work-in timer. Every 5 minutes, your main agent checks in,
Oh
making
yeah,
sure that it's still on track. Man, I
yeah,
would have
because
never
other
thought of
other
99% of this stuff. That's amazing.
no, me neither. I had to figure it out. It took me a lot of time and pain.
Yeah, no
That's
kidding.
why this thing that we're gonna be sharing at some point, it is not ready yet. We will share it.
Yeah.
We are gonna do a lot of marketing for it so that it gets a lot
Yes.
of exposure. It's very useful stuff. It's a lot of money I put
Hundreds
into it
of
in terms of
hours.
tokens. Yeah,
Yeah.
and listen, yeah, and this thing that you mentioned about the worker timer, it was crucial. I also missed that. But then what happens? I send a task on Telegram. I don't get nothing. It is happened 5 minutes, and then I'm asking Hermes, did you completed the task? What is the status of this? Oh, and the agent goes like,
Mhm.
oh, sorry, I should have told you things are still
Yes.
running. And then I
Oh
go
my
like,
goodness.
okay, are you going to tell me when it's done? Yeah, I'll tell you when it's fully done. And I'm like, when, when,
When? Oh
when?
my
Literally,
goodness.
I want to know when. Okay, I estimate this tag is going to take half an hour, let's just say, or 2 hours. Okay,
Yeah.
then give me every 30 minutes reports on the status and what's being done and if everything's working fine, because otherwise, sometimes it gets stuck on the cloud, running a loop on the cloud, burning a bunch of tokens, and you just have no idea about anything because you're just
Oh
not
my
being
goodness.
notified.
Sounds like a nightmare. Okay. No, this is huge. This is huge. Okay. Like learning a ton, um, like really gaining an appreciation to how important this conversation is. We definitely covered a ton of stuff, and I'm really grateful that we are having this conversation, Quantic, because like I'm learning some things today, and I'm very grateful for it. So yeah, lots to digest from today, and it's probably gonna require a couple of times going back and rewatching certain segments here. But again, not to worry. We are going to make everything that we talked about today available on our newsletter. And then, as Quantic mentioned not long ago, we our plan is to absolutely share the full breakdown of this because clearly there's a lot more to share that we just haven't had time to, or we're constrained by just things that we're constrained by for on a live stream here. But our plan is to have all of this available, very, very clear cut, very, very step by step, so that you can actually have access to agents in the most efficient way possible, 24/7, with the safeguards in play to save you tokens and to optimize the performance, which are two key things that you need to have on lockdown if you want to use your agent sustainably without having to pay an arm and a leg, without having to use more time than it would take to do the task yourself. Because that's kind of what I'm starting to find out here. There are tasks that have taken me longer using an agent than it would if I were to just buckle down and do the job myself. And
Yeah,
so what am I paying money for here? It's useless.
exactly. That's the question.
Awesome, man. Any closing thoughts?
Just make sure to subscribe and all that stuff. If you're watching this, if you have questions, let us know because it will drive the way in which we structure these materials. We're trying to make it as easy and digestible as possible, knowing that this particular topic, it is much more advanced. However, we do want to hear from you. We need your feedback in order to improve. And if this added value to you, always make sure to tune into the next live stream each Friday at 4 p.m. UTC.
100%, 100%. And just a little teaser for next week's conversation here. We're going to be getting back to content creation using AI. And we're hoping to have a special guest on stream with us next week who's absolutely crushing it out here. So, won't name drop anything yet. We're still just making sure everything's okay there. But stay tuned. It's going to be a good one here. And yeah, we appreciate you guys being here with us. My name is Trav. This is Quantic. Together we are Ship Guild. Make sure to follow Ship Guild on X. Make sure to check out the newsletter. All of the links that you need are in the bio of our Ship Guild profile here. So definitely check that out. And I want to welcome, we've got a couple of new members to our Ship Guild community this week. So I want to welcome you guys. Thank you so much for being here with us. Lastly, of course, like Quantic said, if you guys want to learn anything, one way that we're framing the work that we do is we're research machines. So we want to do the work for you guys. If there's anything that you want to learn in terms of content creation, vibe coding, using AI tools to maximize your life, let us know. We're going to dive into it. We'll show you guys our receipts and then we'll bring it to either our live stream, our website, our app, any of these things so that you guys can have access to it. So that's it. Happy Friday,
That's pretty
everyone.
much it. See
See you
you
guys
next
next week
week.
and see you on the timeline. Take care.